So, Peter, you've been closely connected with the Commonwealth for many years now. How would you assess the current state of the organization's health?
Oh, I think it's extremely promising. I think it went through rather a bad period at the time of the Sri Lanka Chogam, but clearly it was on the way up, leading to the summit in Malta. And after that, of course, it's been given an enormous shot in the arm by Brexit, but not because, as it were, one wants to put a specific British input into it, but rather because it is a means of drawing attention to what the world looks like in general, and if you like, what the world's message is for Europe, rather than what the message of Europe might be for the world.
From the UK's perspective, there's been much talk about the Commonwealth becoming more important in the post-Brexit era. Do you agree with that prognosis?
Yes, I do. And again, from the point of view of just what I said, not because we want to put more of our image into it, but that we have a great deal to contribute to the Commonwealth as it has developed. And especially during the time that we were members of the European Union, we didn't think in those terms. I mean, people like your humble servant did, but the majority of the country did not. And now they're starting to take notice in a way which they have never done before, and of which we shall see striking evidence in the summit meeting in April.
What would you say are the main strengths and weaknesses of the Commonwealth as constituted at present?
Oh, the main strength is what was being discussed earlier, right at the beginning of the meeting yesterday. And that is, you see, the Commonwealth isn't an organization with a pattern imprinted on it. It is a network, or indeed a series network, or even a network of networks, with two very important distinguishable elements in it, the governmental and the non-governmental. The organization is about peoples as well as governments, and both peoples and governments have the good sense to understand the importance of the relationship between the two. Now, that is not a matter of organization, it's a matter of affinities. It's organic, and it is very precious, and of course arises from common history and common effort and common cooperation.
What are your hopes and expectations for the forthcoming Commonwealth Summit?
What I hope is that two things. One is that the Commonwealth will realize in its extraordinary diversity and its creativity just what a contribution it can make, not only to its own people, but as an example to the world. And I think I've mentioned to you before, Venkat, something that most people don't seem to know, but I think most important that they should know, is that the original draft of the United Nations organization, the four power proposals, Dumbarton Oaks proposals, presented to the conference at San Francisco, didn't have anything in the way of a preamble. But at a meeting of Commonwealth ministers in London on the eve of the San Francisco conference, Field Marshal Smuts, young Christian Smuts, of all people, unexpected, said, look, this isn't what we want to enable the man in the street to understand what all of this is about. What you need is a sort of preamble which will explain the whole question in simple terms. And he said, these are some of the ideas I've got. And the leading historian on the British side said, well, we had some rather similar ideas like that. May I just go and see if I can find them? And during the course of this meeting, they conflated a number of texts and agreed that if Smuts would put this advocated at the meeting itself, the rest of the Commonwealth would support him. And they carried the day. The American, well, a particularly powerful American lady delegate, wanted, when it began by saying we the peoples of the Commonwealth, I think she wanted to change it to we the people. But anyway, he wanted to mirror the US Declaration of Independence. And well, she carried the day.
So Peter, at a previous Commonwealth conference, it was said that the Commonwealth is a church, a club, and a beehive. What do you think it is?
Yeah, that's right. The discussion developed on this occasion, and they were wondering whether was it or a church or a club or a beehive, and of course the answer is, as you just said, it's all three. But if you are all three, it means that you've got to think in a number of different directions simultaneously. Because let's unpack this. The church means, is it clear about what all this is about? What is it for? The club is about how do we cope with it, in what way do we cope? And the beehive is, forget about the generalities, it all gets down to the nitty-gritty. You've got to do something. Now, can you pursue all those simultaneously, or can you do it in a way which doesn't need to be rather confused? But the answer, I think, again, is yes, you can, because you must. There's no alternative. We hear over and over again the phrase, what was it? Ends, ways,
And
means.
Yeah.
Now that's it, isn't it? We got to think about the end. We got to say, well, how do you deal with this? And the next thing is, what are the sinews you've got to deal with? Now, the thing is, here is the Commonwealth. It's an immensely sensible organization. And it doesn't say we've got the answers. It's a network of networks, which is ready to juggle with these questions in a useful and coordinated way. And nobody else on earth can begin to do that the way the Commonwealth does. And that is why I would suggest it has a message for the rest of the world, especially, dare I say it, our neighbours in Europe.
Thank you, Sir Peter. It's been a pleasure talking to you.